Hello, I'm Patty Flynn, and I made a Melodious deck profile for, since the Grammys were just last night, and for the upcoming Oscars to celebrate them. It's a unique deck that's full of diva, like actor type cards, as you can say. Melodious diva looks like an actor, and there's also the Melodious opera diva, and the solo songstress and soprano, the melody songstress. So I'm making a deck profile for that. And to start off, I use 4 Canon the Melodious Diva. It's a pretty good effect. If you control a Melodious monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can only special summon 1 Canon the Melodious Diva once per turn. You can target 1 Melodious monster you control and change this battle position. It's a unique effect. Like, you could target itself and change defense, so that's the best thing to act. If you special summon an attack and attack with it, then go to main phase 2, change it to defense. Pretty good effect. And I use 3 Crystal Rose because it's a pretty good, it's a decent card in this. Because it can substitute for any fusion for in the deck if you're getting it. It's basically just like I was thinking about either going to King of the Swamp or this. Once per turn you can send 1 Melodious monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and if you do, discard it becomes the name of the sent monsters. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 fusion monster from your graveyard, special summon this card and defense position. You can use the effect of Crystal Rose once per turn. So it's pretty good, and especially since this is a fusion deck, just like if any of the fusions in my deck are in my graveyard, just like I get to special summon it. So it's a tad bit better than King of the Swamp, but downside is its attack and defense are not that high. Like I heard some decks using King of the Swamp for attack, but King of the Swamp is just usually used for either fusion summoning or just getting poly to your hand. And I have 2 different ways to fusion summon in this deck, so I don't really need to get poly into my hand. I also have other main monsters like Mozart the Melodious Master that I use for tribute summoning. Like I use 3 of them, and once per turn you can special summon 1 light fairy type monster from your hand, and it's pretty much all the monsters in this deck are light fairy type except for Crystal Rose. And you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except for light type monsters. So like there's basically no drawbacks in this card's effect except for certain let me think, never mind, nothing in my expertise deck. Except for there's 1 card I cannot special summon during the turn I use this effect. Let me find that I saw earlier. Yeah, the only one that I cannot special summon in this deck with its effect is Swordbreaker because it's an Earth XYZ. And I use 3 Opera Melodious Diva. I haven't tested this deck really, but I made it for competitive play. Like, it's not just for fun, but I made it for competitive play. I use 3 Melodious Opera Diva. Just like I chose read all the effects, and I chose this is like a strong level 4. This card cannot appear. It's 2,300. This card cannot attack when it's normal summon or face up. If this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material summon, you can activate this effect for the rest of the turn. Melodious monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle card effects. It's very good, and just it's one of the strongest level 4s I've seen, other than the Goblin attack forces that are pretty good, and as Unlight Dragon. This basically is, if you draw it, it's a good defense because of how offensive it is. These people can really synchro summon 1 turn on their first turn sometimes, some decks and pull off chains, but some decks just synchro summon Like the Catastrophe could probably beat this. Like that would be a quick SYZ, but there's other SYZs that really can like quick like first turn SYZs cannot really get over this that much. And so I looked at so it's pretty good. And also this just fusing something with it is good effect because can then your monsters can't be really destroyed for the turn. Once you cannot be destroyed by another card effects for the rest of this turn. So it's pretty good getting around card effects. And so I use the Melodious Songstress. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. When this card is destroyed by battle disintegrator, you can special summon one Melodious monster from your deck except solo Melodious Songstress. So that's pretty good, and it doesn't really limit you, so you can summon Moltres the Mantrist or Soprano the Melodious Songstress. I also use 3 Sancha Melodious Diva. If you control a Melodious monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. While this special summon card is on the field, all fairy types gains you can gain 500 attack and defense. So it works very good with Opera and the Melodious Diva. Definitely. And I use 3 Soprano Melodious Songstress. You can target one Melodious monster in your graveyard except Soprano, the Melodious Songstress, and add it to your hand. You can only use the effect of Soprano Songstress once per turn. Once per turn, you can fusion summon one Melodious fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion material, including this card. So it's basically like it's basically fusion. Like I have more than 3 ways now that I'm looking at it. I have this monster, and I also have polymerization and Fortissimo, which is OCG only for now, and that's it. That's it for the monsters. Now for the spells, I use 3 first movement solo. If you control no special summon monsters level 4 or lower Melodious monsters from your hand or deck, you can activate the first models per turn. One first model per turn. You cannot special summon monsters during the turn you activate this card. So it's basically you special summon and then you cannot special summon monsters this card. So it's pretty decent. It's just like it's a good way to get out monsters from the deck. And also I noticed there's a few that have there were a few that I decided not to use that have the effect that if this card gets special summoned it gets a certain effect. I decided not to use them. But this deck, I'm gonna make more competitive play to actually use them. Just like I'm gonna probably test this deck and edit it, and I'll make an update deck profile. I use when the 14th move comes to the TCG, and I'll make a TCG deck only. I use 3 14th monster per turn. You can target one Melodious monster you control against 800 attack until in a standby phase. You can send this face-up card from your spell and check card zone to fusion summon one Melodious fusion monster from your edge deck using monsters you control as fusion materials. So it's pretty good. I also use 3 MST and 3 polymerizations. Like this deck is basically, since everything is trap heavy from it, I got basically a bunch of spells. I use 1 Centurion the Starry Kai. His battle damage to the control of a fairy type monster. The battle involves fairy type monster becomes 0. And I use 3 Valhalla Hall of Fallen. Once per turn, you can special summon 1 fairy type monster from your hand. You must control no monsters to activate this effect. So, and I use 3 Royal Decree because of the traps. And now my extra is pretty basic. Bloom the Diva and the Melodious Choir, 2 of them. 2 OCG Bloom Priya the Melodious Choir. It's a pretty good one because this is the main reason I actually use polymerization, because it gains 300 attack for each fusion material. So when you fuse 1 Melodious Master monster and plus 1 or more Melodious monsters, so the max you could fusion someone with just the field, the luckiest is 5, but with the poly in your hand, you could use your monsters on your field plus maybe, so it would be 5 plus maybe 1 other 6 monsters. And also I also, for the rest of that shit, I use 2 Jupiter and the Melodious Master, since I can really fuse them in 3 times in this deck only, with Fortissimo and Polymerization, and wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, yeah, I think I'm gonna take out some polymerizations and then that's at it, but I can fuse them 6 times, really. Maximum 6 times, but Fortissimo is a good equip card with that 800 attack. So I would probably use that and try and get Soprano Melodious Sanchez over, just like, what are they going to fuse some? There was also other fusion cards, there was one other fusion card I was thinking about putting in this deck. I forget its name, but I was fuse one SYZ or a Synchro Monster plus another SYZ or Synchro Monster, and it had a pretty decent effect. I also used one Fairy Cheer Girl because it's a light type, just like I focused because of the facts I just like of Mozart, the Melodious Master. But I also used 3 number 39 Utopia, 1 number 39 Utopia Beyond because there's level 6s, like 2 fusion monsters are level 6s, so fusing some of them, use their effect, yada yada. If time to get stuff out, XYZ for the Utopia Beyond. And I used 1 number C39 Utopia Ray, 1 S39 Utopia Prime. They're just backup cards, and also because I used Utopia Beyond. And Utopia Beyond is better the more Utopia monsters you have in your graveyard. And I also use 1 Villanana Disaga, I don't know if, and 1 Swordbreaker. Swordbreaker is really it's a pretty good one, like I've seen it used in many decks before. Once per turn, you can detach 1 enemy material from this card to declare 1 monster type. This card gains the following effect. At the start of the damage, if this card battles a monster type that has the declared type, destroy that monster. So basically whatever type my opponent is using, like I can declare dark and battle it, destroy, and it's good effect. And Villanana Saga is basically used as an easier version. It's like it's 3 level 4 defense attack, and its effect is good like if I'm facing a light mirror. And I also have a side deck, but it's not fully complete. There's 3 Agido, 3 Serena Melodious, 1 Coil of Justice, 2 more of the Sanctuary in the Sky, 3 Melodious Illusion, 1 Sinister Sylphia, and 1 Track Gun. It's probably gone. And the other one I'm thinking about putting is Fantasy's Emptiness, because it's a good trap and also counters a deck. And so I hope you enjoyed the video, and leave a like and comment down below, and subscribe if you would like to see more. And check out my rest of my videos. Like if you don't want to subscribe, just at least check out my other videos. And if you already subscribed, go back and check out, I made some pretty great videos, like if you haven't watched them before.